little while ago I made a video using the Johnson's postcard enlarger. I had one of those, I think it was a metal one in the 1960s. Oh, well and good, but these are the prints you could turn out. Not very big, and it got me to thinking, if I'd have had the resources in the 1960s, early 1960s, I wonder if I'd have made myself a bigger enlarger, fixed focus, to do 5x7. And then it was, well, I've got the time now, why not have a go at it? So this is how I went about it and what we ended up with. I'm quite pleased with it at the end of the day. One of the things I would need for the project was cheap lens, and then I looked on eBay, as we always do, and I found a WRAY lens which fitted exactly what I wanted, and I think I only paid something like £6 for the lens, so I was really pleased with that. The unfortunate thing is, when I got it, I realised that I needed an adapter for it to fit my Durst enlarger, which is 39mm. That's the thread plate. Looked round on the thread plates on the internet and I couldn't pick one up for less than about £25 to £35, which I thought was a bit extortionate. But I did find another WRAY lens that actually came with its 39mm adapter, so I did well there. This is one of my early prototypes. I came up with the idea that I thought this top section here I would be able to move it up and down to focus, but you can't do that because how are you going to see the focus? So, and then I came up with a crazy idea that I'd have a step unit on the back with the light going about that distance above the negative. Obviously this is about quarter scale. Right, number 2 prototype. I think I must have been getting carried away here. It's getting far too big. Considering that's going to be my bottom section, then it's going to have a drawer underneath it, and then the light box was going to be about this sort of size. I don't think so. It's getting a bit out of hand if I build it that sort of size. This is that fibre board. It's great. I just like aerated polystyrene in there and a couple of bits of cardboard, and it's quite strong. So this is what I'll make my prototypes out of. So now I've got a 35mm negative in there and the WRAY enlarger lens set. I predetermined the focus and I've got that to a 5x7. So I know that's my negative in there, 35mm, and I know that on the base board here I'm getting 5x7. So if I can work out the distance between the negative and the bottom of my enlarger lens at that gives me 3 inches. That's what I need. It looks a bit Heath Robinson, I know, but it will suffice for what I need to do. I'm trying to work out the distance between my lens and the base plate and to get it in focus to be 5x7. So I've rigged up a small light on the top and worked out roughly that that should start to give me an image. Okay, now we're in the red light. It's time to see if we can find out exactly what size that is on the base. So there is an image on the bottom here and it doesn't look too far out of focus. So what I need to do is, by using the focus finder, adjust this by slightly moving it up and down, and then that will give me a sharp image. Once I've got my image right, I then need to measure. So you can see the image now, it's quite clear, and that's 5x7. Right, I'm trying to trim the bottom of this pyramid. Just let's make sure it's all the same, so it'll fit into my little unit at the bottom. If it does, then I can go ahead and make it out of plywood. Just there's a hole in there. I'll tell you what it's about later. Right, okay. So that, quite crudely put together. You keep going, nobody's more surprised than me, it actually fits. So all I've got to do now is connect these two sections together and then start making this bottom half out of timber. Okay, I've built the bottom now. It's a bit of ply and a bit of pine. I think that's 30 by 10, something like that. The ply, about 4mm ply. Remember, the exercise is to get a 5x7 print. So that's going to slide all over the place in there at the moment. So what I've done to give me, it's a little bit bigger than I actually need, but that does give me room for error. So I've made a little mask there, and that will hold the paper in position. So I know that's going to sit and not move in the drawer. And the other thing is, if I make one of these masks and make it a little bit smaller on the inside, I'll end up with a nice little white border around it. The most difficult part of this project really is making sure this lens is pretty central and there's room for adjustment when I've finished it. I'm making it simplistically because I want to have room for a movement up and down. I was going to put springs and washers and things like that in, then I can keep it simple really. So if I undo these, I can put packers in there or take packers away. I have allowed to go up and down by where I'm initially placing my lens mount. So now I've mounted the lens, so I now need to make another section to go on the top here, something so I can put my film strips in, a negative strip, and hold it safely in position. Okay, so I've knocked up a small film carrier. I've used a thin bit of ply and strips of wood on the shoulders here that'll hold my film steady. So once I've got the film in there, I need something to hold it tight on the top. It's not the best thing to use. I've got a bit of perspex at the moment, so there's that, and I'll push it along, and you can see from the other side I've got plenty of room there to play with when the light comes through. Having gone to all the effort in creating the enlarger, I suddenly thought I don't really want to go back to the way of Johnson's and just swinging a bulb around it and hoping I'm getting the correct illumination. So I thought, well, why don't I have some sort of light tower on top of it where I can put a bulb in, and then at least I'll know that's pretty accurate. I can work out how many seconds I need to do it. So I've just knocked up this little box. It's very simple. I've used sort of a 1/2 inch square timber to give it rigidity, and I thought, well, I'll put a bulb on top, put a wire in there, and that'll give me enough light. And then I thought, well, I've gone to all the effort. Why don't I, instead of just using a plastic top to it, why don't I go and hunt around the house and see if I can come up with something. I've got a brass one, and a lot of the things are brass on that, so I thought, well, if I put that one in there, that'll give it a bit more. I'm thinking about the colour as well, and I think the fact that it's quite tall, especially when you put this top box on it, I'm going to paint this white. Okay, so that's it basically. We've got a nice little drawer section at the bottom here. That's my 5x7 paper. I've got the lens fixed in there. It's adjustable because I can take the top off here, and I've just got 2 little screws either side so I can adjust it there. Fits nice and snugly. That's a nice word, snugly, isn't it? Fits nice and snug on there. The reason for the hole is I'm going to use a focus finder just to fine tune it when I set it up, and I can either adjust it with the screws inside there, slight up and down movement on there, or I can just use a little bit of packing underneath the negative on the top, so that can make it rise and fall a little bit just to put it in focus. Remember, even just a piece of photographic paper, if you put this on the baseboard, focus it on there, and then put your paper on and do it, you'll be out of focus even by that small amount. So it's quite critical to get it right. So that's my enlarger finished. Remember, it all started with this little 1950s Johnson's Exactrum. So that's the postcard enlarger, and you can see when you put the two together, there's not a lot of difference in size. Remember, I'm now going down to 5x7, so I've got it splayed out at the bottom to allow me to get my 5x7 print. Theoretically this is all at the moment. Actually it should work. I've got faith in it, it's going to work. So I made this light unit to go on the top. There's I think it's a 40-watt bulb in there, which is an LED, so it's not going to get too warm. And at the bottom I put a bit of a diffusing screen in there. It's basically another bit of perspex, but I treated it with sandpaper, so it's quite coarse and it will give me even illumination. But it does look a bit sort of top heavy, I suppose, when you look at it like that. But the proof of the pudding is, does it work? Now unfortunately, unless you subscribe, you're not going to know. The reason being is it's going to take quite some time and it's going to take a whole new film. So anyway, give us a tick if you liked it, and don't forget the next one's going to be pretty quick. I shan't leave it as long as some of the other films I've done, but anyway, keep smiling. See you on the next film.